welcome yet again to an amazing month where we're going to share very interesting stuff about business.
Business group coaching is back.
This business started in 2019 on the cusp of COVID.
Right now, the entire organization has over 30 people.
If that is not growth, you see what I meant when I told you we were bringing somebody with results to show?
That the reason why I need to have this is that people who follow me are mostly sinners. So, so they need to hear the word of the Lord.
So he knew how to calculate cost of goods, he knew how to purchase, he knew how to price, he knew how to repair, he knew even how to collect debts.
You strongly believe Jesus was a businessman?
Yes.
Anyone who sets up a business to work in it, you created a job for yourself, that business will fail.
When the leader sits small, the business is definitely going to stay small, and so is everyone in it, trapped in the smallness.
Exactly.
You who think the business people are not in kingdom business. Ooh. Good morning, and welcome to Business Garage. This Sunday morning, we are back. We've been in abiding month, and it is so good to be back. I hope you are excited that we are back here showing you, but we have been broadcasting, so I hope you have been tuning in every Sunday morning. It is abiding month. It's not a month to plug out, but really to spend more time in the Lord, with Him, get to know Him better, which means I hope you didn't rest from your business. You are also abiding and continuing to do what you need to do. So here at Business Garage, we are excited to be back to bring you even more insightful conversations that will add value to you. If you're tuning in for the very, very first time, we are excited that you could join us. My name is Pastor Sharon Tumsime, and I am glad to be your host today on Business Garage. Business Garage is part of the Business Leaders Network, which is part of Worship Harvest Ministries. Worship Harvest is a movement of the gospel, discipleship, and mission. And Worship Harvest exists for the purpose of catalyzing spiritual, social, and economic renewal in our immediate communities, and as a result, the world. And at Worship Harvest, we plant life-giving, disciple-making, community-renewing churches. And we believe that church begins on Monday and Sunday is garage. And there will be a garage session right after Business Garage, which you can go and be a part of. So the Business Leaders Network is part of Worship Harvest, where we resource kingdom men and women to go out to the marketplace and extend the kingdom of God in the marketplace. So we resource and equip businessmen and women doing the work of Jesus out in the marketplace. So if you want such business owner, today is the show that you would like to be a part of. And so if you're online, you can share this link with your friends, with your family members. I know that today's conversation will be valuable to you, whether you're a business owner, a business leader, or an employee, or just a leader generally. This conversation today will add a lot of value. So go ahead and share that link. And of course, we are excited. If you're a member of Worship Harvest, you've been in abiding month and you've enjoyed your time, but MC's resumed, so I hope that you went for MC. But if you're the part of the larger Christian community in Uganda, welcome back from the Benny Hinn, Pastor Benny Hinn's crusade, Miracle Healing Crusade. It was amazing. And I know that you have many, many testimonies. So you can go ahead and share the testimonies, what you learned, and what you're going to do about it. And he encouraged us to be people of the word, as well as people that pursue a relationship with the Holy Spirit. So I hope that you have started on that journey, and you are definitely going to see that your life will never be the same again. But let's get into Business Garage. This morning, we are excited to host somebody that you have seen somewhere. You've probably seen her in the Worship Harvest corridors. If you're a Worship Harvest Ministries member, you have seen her walking around, or even here on Business Garage. She was once a host here on Business Garage. If you're in the corporate space, you have seen her doing some CEO stunts out there. So today we have the privilege and the honor of talking to someone that we have been seeing. She has been featured in so many CEO magazines around. She serves on different boards. She serves in the Stanbic Holdings Uganda board, as well as the SBG Securities Uganda. She serves on Hill Preparatory Primary School, Women Leadership Development. I'm telling you, she's a trustee for the CEO Summit. So who else should we talk to about CEO things if not a trustee of the CEO Summit? And of course, she chairs boards, Stanbic Properties, Renewable Energies Business Incubator. Come on now. I mean, I hope you're excited and sharing the link already. So our guest today is a wife. She's a mother as well. She's a sister. She's a friend to so many people. And she's a mentor and a coach in different spaces. So in a special way, welcome with me today on today's Business Garage, Mrs. Muguma Ssebuliba, our amazing guest today. Mona, let me tell you a little bit about her. CEO Mona. She's going to say, don't call me CEO, Mona. But holds an MBA, yes, from Edinburgh Business School, Bachelor's of Business Administration in Finance from our own Makerere University School of Business. She has been in various leadership programs, both at different levels, currently where she serves, but all through her span of her career. And she's going to tell us more about it. And she has recently completed, let me read it so I don't make a mistake, the Advanced Management Program at Strathmore University and earned a practitioner's diploma in executive coaching. So when people say Coach Mona, she's actually under her title in all regard. And so welcome with me in a very special way, an amazing lady who is really going to tell us more about how to be a better CEO. It's all about getting better, because if you're not growing, you're dying. And they say that for every leader, personal growth should be number one on your agenda. So she's going to share something that will be able to encourage you as a CEO and develop you. So welcome with me, Mrs. Mona Muguma Ssebuliba. You're welcome, Mona, to Business Garage.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Very happy to be here.
Yes.
After a while, and I'm happy to have this conversation.
Yes, today you're on that side. You know, you remember
Indeed.
when you're on this side?
Exactly. Less pressure or more pressure, I can't quite tell, but yes, happy all the same.
Yes, it's so good to see you here. You're most welcome. How has Rest Month been? Abiding month, let me call it that.
It's been excellent.
Yes.
It's been excellent, and indeed the time that we had the opportunity to learn from Pastor Benny Hinn was also the highlight of Rest Month, but it has been excellent, a time to dig deep,
yes,
and give more time to things of the Lord, in our meditations, and generally also rest and recoup.
And recoup.
We can't run away from that.
Yes.
We're a movement and always on the go. So when we get opportunities to pause and reflect and rest and recoup, they're always welcome.
They're always welcome.
Yeah, so I must say I'm recharged and energized, and can't wait to see what the second half of the year will look like.
Yes, yeah. So it is very good to have you joining us. And of course, I know you've been here before, but would you like to send greetings?
Definitely, and I'd forgotten that part. My. Yes, by all means. I'd like to send my greetings first and foremost to Apmo and Revma, without whom none of this would be possible. If they hadn't said yes to the vision and calling on their lives, we wouldn't be here. Can't forget our pastor, Chris, who heads up the business arm of Worship Harvest Ministries. We love you and we're grateful for you. The other segment that I must say hello to or send greetings to is the Advanced Leadership Corps, especially the ones that meet in Nalia. Our lives matter. And I love you guys, and let's keep at it, as well as the Business Leaders Network. I'm glad we resumed our calls, and I'm looking forward to the rest of engagement as we close the year. I can't end without greetings to my family, the broader family, and especially the ones that I do life with on a daily. My husband, Jordan, and the children, Miti, Katana, and Mola. I love you all very much, and God bless you.
So today we want to talk and just get into the CEO mindset. Yes, we're getting into the second half, and we just like to have conversations with CEOs, Chief Executive Officers, just to tell us some of the tips that they're using to thrive where they are. And you've been thriving and been, you know, in the limelight, let me call it limelight, but showing up in different spaces, speaking about different things. So we thought it would be a good one for you to just speak into our business community, but not only business people really, even if you're just corporate and you're working, this conversation is valuable for each and everyone, as long as you lead. Even an MC Shepherd could use this information as well that we're going to discuss. So we just wanted to pick your brain a little bit. But before we get into that, Mona, how did you end up CEO at ABI Development Finance? What is the journey like for someone to get to this point? As a little girl, did you dream of being a CEO? You know, CEOs, do they, you know, what is it, you know, so what was it about you that gets you to here? Is it something you had dreamt about, or did you just land into it?
Looking back, I'm now not sure whether I always dreamed about it, but I've always been ambitious. And wanted to lead and have given myself up or presented myself for leadership positions. So I think the ambition was always there. And my career, my former working career, spans a little over 20 years. Having started work in 2003 at Maersk Shipping, where we both worked. I think you came in a little after me. Started there as a finance management trainee, very operational at an officer level, and took what opportunities were presented to me and just did what was in front of me. So that was for 2 years. Then I moved on to African Alliance, where I got into the world of investment management and pension fund management. Incidentally, at African Alliance, we actually brought the first unit trusts to Uganda, and I had the privilege of rolling them out and being a junior portfolio manager there. And I was there for 7 years and rose through the ranks. And by the time I was leaving, I was heading the asset management department, and I was the deputy chief executive at African Alliance. Time came to move on. I was looking for a new challenge, and I got into the world of development. And that was through my work at Akina Mama Africa, where I joined as regional head of programs. And there I was introduced to the human face behind growth and development. And to think of the people behind the profits and how it affects, and how making money and being profitable affects people, affects planet, and to just put a human lens to it. So I credit Akina Mama Africa for humanizing my leadership story and looking beyond the numbers. So I did that for 2 years, and then an opportunity opened up at ABI, where I currently am, ABI Finance, and I joined as an investment manager, senior investment officer at the time, but by the time I was completing my probation, I had been promoted to investment manager. And then a couple of years there later, I was promoted to chief operating officer. And then from 2021, I was promoted to chief executive, a role I still hold to date. So that's really been my career path. But looking at my path that I just described, and also my credentials, my academic credentials, one would think I have it all together, and that the styles were always aligned, and that I indeed was always going to go from A, B, C, D, right to where I am. Not the case. Not the case. It has had its periods of feeling like you're stalling. It has had periods of acceleration, and I certainly have a story about God's hand and favor in that journey. And my path, or if you look at my track record or my achievements, I don't think I'm exceptional in the sense that you can't find any other person with similar credentials. But why me? And the why me, I attribute to God. There are things He has done, there are doors He has opened that I know, and I know it wasn't just about performance currency. It wasn't about my credentials, but it was really God's hand that got me noticed, that got me a seat at certain tables. And if not for God's hand, I wouldn't be where I am. So to answer the question, did I always know? No. But indeed, it would look, with hindsight, it might look like I always knew, but no, certain things I've just gone along with, I believe, God's hand without knowing, what got me off the path, say at African Alliance, from investment management, which was my typical bread and butter, to getting into development work of women's rights and leadership development. That was God's hand preparing me for the kind of work that I'm doing now at ABI Finance. So I attribute quite a bit of it to God's hand and molding and guidance, as well as performance currency and showing up.
All right. Performance currency. Even before we get into performance currency, somebody might be wondering, I don't want to continue this conversation without you telling us a little bit more about ABI Finance, what you do there, what is that all about, you know? I don't want to go too far and then realize at the end, oh, by the guys, this is what they do. Let me just allow you to tell us just a little bit what that organization actually does. Because you talk about how Akina gave you the human element, but I also feel ABI also has that because you deal a lot with farmers. So if you just tell us a little bit about ABI.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So ABI Finance is a development finance institution, wholesale lending in nature, that addresses access to finance for smallholder farmers and agribusinesses. We are not retail facing, and by that we don't lend directly to the smallholder farmers and agribusinesses, but rather we partner with financial institutions whose day job it is to lend to the market. And so we partner in two major ways, which is through lines of credit. We provide money, we lend money to financial institutions who then on-lend it to smallholder farmers and agribusiness. And the money that we lend is earmarked specifically for agribusiness, for the agribusiness sector. It cannot go to mortgages, it cannot go to personal banking and wealth and wealth. It cannot go to real estate, it can only be for agribusiness. Why is it very specific? Because when we looked at the way banks allocate their money asset, they would rather lend to real estate, they'd rather lend for consumer banking or consumption, they'd rather lend to manufacturing, a lot more stable sectors compared to agribusiness. Agribusiness, unfortunately, and perhaps not incorrectly, comes along with the reputation of being high risk and sometimes high risk, low return. So we needed to allocate money specifically for agribusiness, smallholder farmers and the agribusinesses, especially given its critical role that it plays to this economy. We're an agrarian economy looking to become more a value addition or industrialized economy, but at the core of that is agribusiness. So our shareholders, who happen to be the Royal Danish Embassy, the Investment Fund for Development from Denmark, as well as the European Union, those three form our shareholders. That was the focus that they had for ABI Finance when they were setting it up, to strengthen and address the issues of access to finance. So one, if we're talking about availability of money, we now make the money available to the banks to then on lend. So we deal with right from the tier 1 banks, the big banks that you know, to the tier 2 banks, microfinance institutions, credit institutions, right down to the SACCOs, savings and credit cooperatives. So we lend to the entire spectrum because they all reach different segments types, of those farmers and agribusinesses. So we provide that liquidity. Then the other major intervention we have is building the capacities of the financial institutions to better understand the sector and lend to the sector. So we spend quite a bit of time building capacity, training staff, helping, for instance, savings and credit cooperatives enhance their management information systems to be able to capture data that is required for the analysis and to make better lending decisions. Helping them understand that to lend to a farmer is different to lending to a mortgage or to lending a salaried employee. For instance, when you're lending to a farmer, you must take into consideration when the crop
Yes.
or the animals are not yet of producing stage, or the crop has not yet arrived at harvesting stage. So at that point, you can't ask the farmer to be repaying in that period. You must time the repayments to match
based on the season.
To match the seasons and the harvesting. So you'd be surprised how that doesn't
I know,
come
it seems like it should be obvious.
And then develop the product because they might understand it, but they don't have the product. The product that they have
is every
says
month.
every month. So you've got to go in there and then tweak. We've had to train boards, management, staff,
and just
officers.
educate them that the sector is there and it needs
Climate change is a big thing.
And
we can't just stop at saying, oh, the climate has changed. What do we do? We have to help the sector adapt and be resilient to climate change. So the situation is here. We won't throw our hands up and just give up. So we say, what do we do, for instance? If you're lending to a farmer, check, are they using improved seed that can withstand drought?
So it's not a matter of just giving them money. Then they fail to pay because there was a drought, and then everybody's
So you find today's loans officer is almost an agronomist. They've had to learn,
but
and take on this
you
knowledge.
have to understand your customer.
Exactly. So we spend quite a bit of time developing capacities of the financial services sector to better understand the agribusiness sector, the agriculture sector, and serve it better.
Interesting. Wow. So you guys are quite busy.
Exactly.
We thought you were just here, in your plush office, just living your best lives.
No. We roll our sleeves and get down to the nitty-gritty.
All the way. So it's not just about disbursing resources. There's a lot more that comes with it. So it's really like responsible lending.
Exactly.
Yes.
So the human face that I said
that you talked about.
Numbers,
Exactly. Yes. So that it's not just a bank, someone seated somewhere disbursing to a guy on his farm and has no clue what he's going through and what his life is about.
Exactly.
Yes. Exactly. So you also humanize the guys that give the loan.
Definitely. For instance, some of the products that they've had to remodel have had to include school fees, as well as this school fees and medical. So they found that sometimes the farmers are unable to repay their installment when it has fallen due, especially when it falls due in a period where they have to.
Children are going back to school. I am definitely not coming to pay your loan.
Exactly. Or when, unfortunately,
someone is unwell. Yes.
So they've had to make that facility available alongside the loan and say, by the way, as a result of taking this loan, you also are entitled to having an additional facility should you need to pay fees, should you need to take somebody to hospital. Yes, is it additional debt? Yes, but it's better than being stuck without a plan. So at least they know that they can approach their financiers and speak to them about
and have this conversation.
Yes.
Which comes into a bit of financial planning and all these things. The Bible says we shall be lenders of nations. So really, eventually, that's what we hope that will happen to them. But it comes out of planning, which brings us into today's conversation. It's all about execution and planning. So that's the thing we want to talk to you about as a CEO. You're in a space where these are the things that you're teaching people, and as a CEO, this is one of the skills. You should be able to plan and execute effectively. So we just want to talk a bit and pick your brain and share a little bit more about that. You talked about performance currency. Some people are hearing that word for the first time. First, hit us with that performance currency thing. What is that all about?
Performance currency is really your ability to deliver on your mandate in practical terms. Upmore likes to say, give me results and not reasons. It's the ability to deliver on the results that have been asked of you, and where there are even shortcomings, providing solutions around it and not just saying, I didn't do this because of this. So what? What can be done? What lessons have you learned? What are you solutioning for? Where are you finding the help that you need to enable us get to where we want to go? So the kind of leader anybody wants as well to be working with is one that is thinking out of the box or is asking for help about how to overcome whatever obstacles are in their path in order to achieve the mandate of their organization, department, or them as an individual. So performance currency really speaks to delivering results.
Yes.
There's also social currency, and usually those two go hand in hand. Social currency is how networked you are.
Yes.
6 degrees of separation. You know, how quickly can you get to the person that you need within your social networks, within your networks, professional, social, or otherwise.
Yeah.
So many times people tend to talk about performance currency and social network currency.
Yes. So you have to have the same in, you know, equal portion, really. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the proportions, but the social currency or networks will be useless if at the back of it or behind it you are unable to deliver. And I'm sure you've heard of these references to people sometimes of that guys or that ladies all talk and no action.
And no action.
So you find that they've been given the benefit of the doubt through a social network or a professional network, and have been given a promotion or a position or an opportunity to deliver on something. Somebody has taken a chance on them and they don't deliver what they're supposed to. Sometimes it's for lack of knowledge and have not been trained, or sometimes, as we're going to discuss, it's for the lack of planning and failure to just focus on what needs doing and delivering the result.
All right. So you've talked about the ability to focus. So as CEO, how will I prioritize? Because, you know, CEOs, there's the corporate one, then there is the CEO entrepreneur, the one that's a business person. At some point, you're everything, for example, in the business. Yeah, you're the accountant, you're the receptionist. Okay, that's like really at startup level. But at some point, there is so much to do as the CEO. So how do you grow into this whole thing of prioritizing? Is there a tool? Is there something that you use that could be useful? Some advice? Because sometimes, yes, it's all there. So how do I do what I need to do as a leader in an organization to make sure that we deliver? Because sometimes I have all the plans, but that part, the execution, is the issue. Yeah.
I'll start at exactly where you've talked about, I have all the plans. You'll be surprised that many people don't articulate their plans. And indeed, it is something that catches out startup CEOs, people who are self-employed and running their own businesses. Never mind that sometimes they know better from their professional lives, but they have these grand ideas and plans which stay in their head and are not articulated on paper or in today's world, digital. Are not articulated digitally or on paper, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
And we mustn't underestimate what just writing things out looks like and what it does for clarifying certain things. 100 million in 6 months' time, 100 million revenue. This is January. It begs you to write out what are your assumptions, which partners or clients are you looking at generating this revenue from? Who is going to talk to them? What are the leads they are looking like? Are they warm? Are they cold? Are they hot? When did Sharon as a client last order with you? You're in the furniture business, for instance. What are the chances that Mona, who ordered with you 6 months ago, is going to be ordering with you 6 months later? Maybe, so what is the reorder frequency of your clients? Just writing all those things down might make you say, maybe 100 million in 6 months is a bit ambitious. Maybe let me bring that down to 35 million. Or I'd underestimated. Based on the number of orders I'm receiving, I'm actually shooting below where I should be. But it comes from articulating, bringing those big, hairy, audacious goals into perspective and just writing them out and planning for when and how they'll be executed. First, over the quarter, or over the year, over the first 6 months, over every quarter, over every month, over every week. What does that look like? And then you calibrate, remembering you have to go for fearless, for instance. You have to take a break. there's need for leave, or there's need to train. You need to submit yourself somewhere to train and get better at your knowledge. So does it look feasible that you're going to meet 6 orders in 1 month, or does that now whittle that down to 3? So it's articulating the big goals at an annual level, 6 months level, quarterly level, monthly, and weekly level. You really need to get that granular. So indeed, it begs that your plans are smart, specific, measurable, achievable, and what is
realistic,
and time-bound. So once you have that, I think you're at the beginning of starting to win by just applying that and articulating your goals.
Yes. So the challenge is we think we are planning and it's all in our heads. There's nothing written down anywhere.
So can
and
that
broken
be,
down further for that matter.
Now, should you be privileged and you're working with more than just yourself,
exactly,
and you have a team, then you start to parcel out the activities that will result in achievement of the goals amongst the team members and what they're good at or what they're recruited for.
Yes.
Just because you have a driver, a receptionist, 2 salespeople, and yourself on the team doesn't mean that the driver also has a sales target. No, his job or her job is to get you to your appointments on time and ensure that you're managing your transitions from appointment to appointment properly.
Yes.
To
allow you
then
to
you go do your sales so that you're not flustered. You're not in a hurry.
Don't
you're
start
not,
putting your targets on him.
You're not thinking about parking. You're not thinking about speed limits. His is to get you to the destination on time. So that's his deliverable. Your deliverable is when you get to the appointment to make sure you're closing. So break down everybody's and what we call key performance indicators down to everybody and how we're all getting to
this final big, 100 million, whatever it is.
There's that famous story that is told about, I think it was a president who visited NASA and met a janitor.
The janitor,
And says, what do you do around here? I'm just working to get
the man to the moon.
Man on the moon. And how it was by having clean facilities and ensuring that, I think, hygienically.
Yes, no one is worried about that part.
Exactly. Yes. So in terms of the big focus for your furniture business, what is everybody's role? By doing these seemingly small activities, I'm contributing to this goal, and together we're going to achieve this. So it's important to also get the team together. And if the team is just yourself, so you're speaking to, at that point, you're speaking to yourself as a receptionist, as the officer, as the CEO. But if you have a team, you're getting them together and saying, so do you see what your activity path leads to in achieving our overall goal? Everybody sees what they are achieving. And also you give them an opportunity, by the way, to have input, sometimes even craft. You say, so this is where we're going. As a sales manager or officer, how do you see yourself supporting the organization in achieving this goal? And you'll be surprised how they have very good ideas and intuitively want to win and want to help you succeed. So you help them. They come up with these activities, and together you craft them. You need ownership. So it's not a case of Sharon told us to do this, but if she'd asked me, I'd have told her this is not possible for this and this reason. There's always that. And they always say, when things are going wrong, the people on the shop floor could have articulated that for you had you bothered to ask them. So you need their input, and everybody's role is articulated, and it's articulated if I do this weekly, monthly, every quarter, the first 6 months, end of the year, we should arrive here. Once you have that buy-in, then you come back to monitor, and you're having these conversations depending on people's ability to deliver on the mandate without much supervision. And the supervision differs from person to person, level to level. There's some levels that require a lot closer supervision, and the more adept and independent somebody gets, the more hands-off you get off. What used to be a daily conversation becomes a weekly conversation, becomes 2 weeks 2 weekly conversations, and we have the monthly check-in. Sometimes we might come from the monthly check-in when I realize Sharon is struggling a little bit with this. I think if we have daily check-ins, it might help get her back on track. So let's have those daily check-ins. Some might feel like sometimes that's micromanaging, but the one who's feeling micromanaged, ask yourself, what in my performance is resulting in my boss?
Yes, to micromanage, to be so much into it.
Yes.
Is it me?
The minute you have a backseat driver,
Yeah.
just know that there's a discomfort in letting you drive independently. So it would be good to introspect before sulking and blaming. To introspect and think, it seems I'm not giving them comfort in these areas. Maybe this is where I need help. So you start to be mature and say, I think I need help in this particular task. I'm not really
have
good.
the conversation.
Have the conversation.
Yeah.
You could need training. You just don't have the skill set. You could need the daily hand-holding. You could need the motivation. Recently at work, we had a very boring task of reviewing all our manuals to make sure that they were ESG or sustainability compliant. How interesting. It's as good as watching paint dry. Exactly. So we had to go through the painstaking work of going through the manuals and saying, and policies, and saying, so when you read this, how are we looking at from the ESG perspective, environmental management, social inclusion, governance? That's not very interesting work. So what we did, for instance, was block of 2 hours where we all got to the boardroom.
Every day for that period?
Yeah, not every day. We picked specific days in the month and said every Tuesday we'll sit together for 2 hours and everybody just go through and feel free to ask questions. Raise a hand.
So you'd all sit together. It was like a situation room
exactly,
of some sort.
Exactly, because left to our own devices, sat with a manual at your laptop.
You can just
on your
be
own,
distracted.
scrolling through page. Exactly. You just get on WhatsApp and just tell Sharon an interesting story. Exactly. But when you're all together and everybody's asking, I don't
then
understand.
You're supporting each other.
You're supporting it. And that was just to get us off. What is arguably a very boring task.
Which is sort of answered my next question. How do you support teams to actually execute on the things that you want? But I'm hearing what it's all about. So basically, holding them accountable, following up. I'm hearing that the role of the CEO is just that follow up and just constantly check in with the people. How are we doing? Because sometimes, when we were growing up, I think we had managers, you'd get your KPIs at the beginning of the month, then appraisal time. What did you do the whole year? So, it's like, suddenly it's like even him, it's just landed on him that, where have these guys been this whole time?
And you don't want people feeling about appraisals as a catching out.
Exactly, because that's what it would look like eventually. Yes.
But if you make it more interactive, hence the open door policies. There's method to madness. People are not just saying, they're not just saying open door for no reason. It's to allow for that ease of coming in and going and just asking these questions. Another critical thing that we have learned following somewhere we didn't win, and I just want to get into a bit of that detail, is activity planning. It is one thing to say, Sharon, you're in charge of this, and this is what you're going to do, and on paper it looks good. So what happened to us last year is we missed some of our targets simply because we didn't we didn't do our activity planning properly. We are limited resources. And yet we must multitask. For instance, you have to go through procurement, but members of your team also have to be part of the procurement evaluation panels. They have their day jobs to do. They have leave to take. Some of them are studying, some of them are going for training and that type of thing. So what an activity schedule helps you do is map out everything that we need to do. For instance, at the office, we are currently in the process of overhauling our management information system to make it more sophisticated. And so it's a big ICT project. So you have that must go on alongside your
everything
day work.
else. Yes.
So you have to say, we have the MIS project that's going on. We also have a culture piece. We're in the process of articulating our culture and that type of thing. And that feels a bit fluffy, but so we have the culture piece. You have your day job to do. who's going on leave when. So we have to go on leave.
And then at a personal level, those people have some personal things that they need to
going
plan
on maternity leave.
Yes.
So we have 4 months of somebody or a couple
will be
of
away.
people away.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you don't map those things out and say, in order to get this out of the door, we even need a procurement meeting. We need a management meeting. Some things require board approval. When are the board meetings? So the board doesn't meet at our whims.
Time. Yes. And call.
Exactly. So you've got to plan. It is interesting how things become realistic or unrealistic.
Yes.
When you map it out across the 12
months. You can say
we'll
do that next week, but there's really
and
no
then
time.
allow, by the way, for the ad hoc things that pop up.
Leave room for it.
Exactly. So you plan all that out and say, so in this period where we all seem to be in the office, maybe this is what we need to do. Around board reporting time, make sure that any approvals we need from the board are submitted on time. So what does that mean? Management also needs to have looked at it and approved. And then, that intricate planning helps you achieve your goals. Without it, you find a case of we're out of time. We were out of time, and that's what happened to us. So we found that a lot of the things we wanted to achieve last year, we ended up achieving in the first quarter of this year because we were late by a couple of months or weeks.
Yeah, because we forgot about the activity schedule. Really.
Exactly. Yes. And why we forgot about it is, and it can happen when you're succeeding. When you've become successful and are good at something, you then sometimes fall away from the very things that helped you succeed in the beginning. So don't get too big for your boots. Don't get too big for certain activities that seem very fundamental or rudimentary or too simple. No. I think the more things change, the more certain things stay the same.
Yes.
So the more complex we're getting, the bigger we're getting, the bigger our mandate. It behooves the planning to be that more methodical. So I think we got comfortable after a couple of years of doing well in certain aspects that we didn't think we needed that. But the reality is that we found that we needed to go back to basics.
Yes.
So those are the key things I wanted to highlight. The need to articulate the plans on paper, break them down to what they mean using the SMART guidance, and articulating goals. Take them from your head, put pen to paper, articulate them, and see what that means for the organization and to each individual's contribution. And the second one is activity planning and scheduling. Don't underestimate that. And obviously there are the touch-ins and the evaluations and the follow-up to ensure that things get done, coupled with reward and consequence management.
So for how long should my activity plan go as far as?
Broadly, you can start for the year,
but
the more detailed ones are usually at least for the first 2 quarters.
Yes.
Because those are the ones whose activities or you know a lot more about what's going to happen today and next week than you do in 2 months' time or 3 months' time. So the farther away it is, the looser it should be, and the tighter it should be, and more specific and detailed,
the closer.
So after you clear quarter 1, so as you're clearing quarter 1, quarter 2 is coming into focus, and quarter 3.
Yes.
And as you clear quarter 2, now quarter 3 and 4 should really be coming much clearer. We're in the second half of the year. At this point, you really need to know what's happening in the third quarter.
Yes.
In very granular detail. And then quarter 4 is also coming into focus. And remember, quarter 4, you're planning for the next year.
The next one,
That you should not plan for next year in Jan. You should close your calendar year. You should go for Christmas knowing what you're doing when you open the doors for business on Jan 1st.
Jan 1st,
You should sign off your KPIs for next year
before
by the time
you go for
Christmas.
Yes.
You don't start signing off KPIs in January.
Yes.
You need to have articulated them at that point.
Yes.
So do you see, you're still executing 2025's work.
However
you're planning for 2026.
Yes.
And those are 2 tensions you must be able to hold. So it's a continuous cycle.
Yes. Yeah, which is really the difference between those who probably succeed and those who don't in meeting their goals.
Yes.
The element is that ability to really, really plan. Because sometimes we're like, there's so much to do. How do you possibly plan? But I think you've broken it down for us. And it takes time. So there has to be time set apart for planning.
It is hard work.
Yeah,
You spend a couple of nights, long nights as a team or individually going over plans. You need to be able to review, take off time, think. Because sometimes it's in the consideration that certain things add up or join up. So you need to give yourself sufficient time.
How do I support a team member that is struggling with planning? Because yes, I can give you the broader plan as the leader. Now, at that personal level, someone you supervise, who is struggling, and you know that in their work they fail to deliver because it's just a planning thing. It's just not a lack of skill or technique to execute, but it's just that planning. Did you ever encounter those? What do you do?
If I wasn't one myself. Sometimes it needs the technical training.
Okay.
Sometimes they just don't know. They don't have the knowledge.
Yes.
And they've been winging it all their lives. So do they have the technical knowledge?
Yeah.
And sometimes some of these things are not very expensive. There are courses online and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And then there's also attaching them to people that are very good at it. Remember our learning model, our learning square. So you can take them through the learning square attached to somebody.
The one of watch me do it, and all that.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you can go through that learning square where you practically do it. No, go correct this, come back to me. Go correct this, come back to me. The one where I said, when you see yourself with a backseat driver, know that there's a learning growth phase that you're going through.
Yes.
Submit yourself to it and don't sulk. You shorten it by submitting yourself to it, learning what needs to be done, and getting on with it. However, it could just be that generally that's your growth area or your weak side. And at certain levels, you don't have the opportunity or luxury of delegating.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is you, the officer, to whom things are being delegated. You have to bear it, bring yourself to it, and
some long hours.
Apply yourself. Another person
you might have to sit off that baby shower.
Exactly. It takes you 4 hours.
Yes.
Do it. Then when you get the opportunity at a later level to be able to have the luxury of delegating, you also delegate it to someone for whom that is their strength. This is not a punishment time of, I see you're weak in this area, I think let me give you that to help you grow. Delegate to people's strengths.
Who can manage it.
So when you get to the opportunity to be able to delegate, then you delegate, especially your weak sides, to somebody else's strong side.
Yes.
So planning is somebody's bread and butter. They do it meticulously, and they're literally humming their way through the activity.
Yeah, that's true.
That is who you delegate to, okay?
Yes.
For instance, I'm a broad strokes person.
Yes.
I think very much in broad strokes, and I like summarized information, and so I delegate detail. And I'm supported by a very competent deputy and CFO who is detailed.
For them, that's their strength.
And I quite rely on them.
Yes.
Sometimes I sense check myself with, kindly have a look at this and see if I have everything. If just sense check my thinking or my logic here. And so you also have to know what you're good at and what you're not good at.
Yes.
And be open to alternative views. My challenge to myself is I hope I'm not living in an echo chamber. An echo chamber is when you're in a space with sounds and things and ideas that largely resonate with you.
Yes.
So you're saying you have diversity, but you have Sharon, you have Brian, you have Fred, you have Maureen, who by and large think like you. So you're in an echo chamber without knowing. You're placed people who think like you.
Yes.
I'm really challenging myself to be open to people that think very differently to me.
Yes,
have
and come with an opposing view all the time.
And to not be
or
dogmatic.
Question.
Yes, and to not be dogmatic. And sometimes I also ask myself, why am I feeling offended? at this question or at this being challenged.
Yes, as a leader, yes.
Yeah, and the first step at winning is recognizing that you're feeling threatened or you're feeling challenged. Why? Get into the why and release it. And then, sometimes when you confront it is when you say it's just an idea. It's another way of doing something.
Yeah, like calm
Let's
down,
try it.
humble yourself. Which was actually my next question. As a leader, sometimes you're the one who can't plan.
Yes. It's that leadership, a big.
You're the one who's poor at planning. Yeah. Yes, you have great ideas of a perfect plan.
Yes. A big ingredient for successful leadership is being self-aware.
Okay.
Self-aware and having the maturity to know your blind spots and allowing other people to also call out your blind spots. I was recently given very good feedback by my board in my recent evaluation. So I've done an evaluation recently. And to use their words, they said, my superpower seems to be taking criticism very well. And I want to tell them, guys, don't push it. Don't push this criticism thing.
Yes.
But I was very gratified that is how I came off.
Had you always been like that, or it's something?
So I was taken by surprise, but it was, you see, blind spots or things you don't know about yourself. Because criticism is never fun.
No, no one
you
likes
thought you
feedback.
had exactly.
And the
so
bad
the
one,
fact that I
like
came
the good
up
one.
to them that I'm very open to it, and that before they know it, I've acted on it and moved on. So I also like to get over things quickly. Yes, I like to get over things quickly. I like to call them out, talk about them, understand what I need to do, and move on. So I'm really. That can also have its downside. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because many people don't. I don't dwell. Yes, I don't dwell. Many people don't receive that direct feedback. Oh, yeah. So with self-awareness comes accepting quickly what you don't know, knowing what you don't know, but also allowing that somebody else might point out something new that you had no idea about. Accepting it quite quickly, doing what needs doing, and learning. So if indeed you're the one who's not good at planning, as I said, you see, I'm bolstered by a deputy who is fundamentally good at the things I'm not good at. Not, you won't only staff people just to only check your weak points, but indeed as you build the team, you need to know for what you're strengthening. It might not be you, and say, this person is really good at execution, but in terms of people management, I think let me support them with this person who softens them. If they work as a pair, if this one is the one for mobilizing the team, if they're working as a pair and person B is very good at people management, let them be the ones who mobilize and galvanize the team. Let so-and-so plan the task. Yes. So it's also knowing how to pair and support your team, but it starts primarily with yourself. But the self-awareness is key, and the acceptance that there'll be other views and other ways of doing things, and accepting feedback on yourself that needs improvement. And always ask, by the way, the ones who give you feedback, what you can do better, how you can address it. Many times, the person that's giving you feedback has thought about it and has reflected on it before they give you feedback. So they have if you go the extra effort and just extra step and move away from the offense, because sometimes it ends at the offense, and then you forget to exactly, and you forget to ask for the advice. How do you think I can go about that? Sometimes if they don't know, they'll point you in the direction of another coach or mentor or a book or training. Yes. But many times the answer is also with the person that's on the outside of you, because they can see how you can do better. Yeah, and don't despise feedback. It takes a lot of courage to give somebody feedback. Yeah. So by the time people generally hate those conversations. They hate those conversations. It's easier to walk away. Yeah. So even if the person is a report, is junior to you, is senior to you, or is your peer, step aside from all of that and just focus on, this person has taken time to give me feedback. One, when you feel yourself feeling picked on, quieten that down. Yeah. You're better off quietening it down and addressing the issue. You'll be stronger for addressing it. Even if it's something you think you have in hand, check again. Strengthen yourself in that respect and move. But also don't get stuck. Huh? Don't get stuck at owning the problem and this is me. You're not doing anything. Yes, no. Some people like, man, I'm a bad planner. I know. I know. Please, Mona, you plan. I know, exactly.
plan and tell me.
Exactly. Acknowledge the improvement.
Yes, yeah.
Make the effort to improve.
Yeah, don't
we
wear
mustn't
the
own,
thing.
Yeah, we mustn't own
the bad thing.
The
You
bad
can
thing.
change.
You can change. You can outgrow certain things. You can learn. Otherwise, if we didn't,
Yes.
what would be the point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Now to the personal level, I'm working in an organization or just personal planning for personal development. Do you have any experience with that? Earlier on, we were talking about wealth and the series, and we're talking a little bit about finances because it's a key aspect for people. Do you have any personal stories, in terms of that where planning, you can use planning to just grow yourself as an individual? Yeah.
I must confess that I believe I'm graced in the areas of diligence and consistency.
Yes.
And generally planning.
Yeah.
It started actually I remember this specific time when we were growing up. I used to follow my brothers around a lot for everything. My uncles, my brothers, they were my company, but I used to follow them around a lot. And I remember this one time, my brother, Alan, I think, asked me what my plan was for the holiday. Like, what plans do you have? And I was shocked, like, plans? I'm just waiting for you to tell me where we're going, who we're going to meet, what we're going to do. He says, no, make a plan. You have to make a plan outside of me. You have to have your own plans. You have to have your own friends. So make a plan. I remember very vividly, I haven't forgotten, the shock.
Yeah.
And I think he was teaching me a bit of independence. I should plan, have a plan, make a plan. So that's when I first encountered, even if I were going to meet friends or it takes a plan. So when are you meeting them? Who's taking you? What do you need to do? How are you getting there? How much money will you require? I needed to make a plan. I remember just being asked, make a plan. And it was no longer up to him. Somehow I used to be planned for. Mona will be with these guys. So.
Yes, yeah.
So I needed to make my own independent plans.
And that's the journey.
That started me off on my journey of just generally making a plan. So you find even for social events or social gatherings, my friends will tell you, I'll come up with a very arrival at this time.
I know. You're always asking us of, where are we going? How are we going? What? It's like, man, let's just go.
No. Okay.
Yes.
Then financial planning.
Yeah.
And I have a story on that. I have a worship harvest story on that.
Yeah, we like stories.
Yeah. Financial planning, I remember my dad introducing me to it, especially when I got to boarding school. And he basically calculated.
That's how you always had pocket money.
Exactly. Seriously. He made a plan for me and said, I'm giving you this amount of money per day. I will see you when I next visit you or at the end of time, whatever, at the end of the period. But he's like, so if we plan, for argument's sake, 1,000 shillings per day times 30 days, that's 30,000, for instance.
Yeah.
And so I learned...
Yeah, if you eat all of it in one day.
Exactly. So I figured maybe you can keep for the first 3 days if you want to buy a very big thing.
Yeah.
The whole thing of,
Now you had planned for that.
I had to
money.
make a plan, and I had some guardrails. It wasn't just...
Yeah, don't send me letters.
Yes, exactly.
On 20th.
I remember there's one time I wrote him a letter and said my money had been stolen. I remember when he came to me, so you gave away the money. He didn't want to. He didn't
plan its safety.
Yeah, he didn't plan for its safety. He gave away the money. And I remember he used that line, and don't go giving away your money. I'm like, anyhow, so he introduced me to budgeting and planning, and I don't like scarcity. I don't think anybody likes scarcity. Yeah.
No one wants to be there.
Because of that, I find that I really plan almost down to the last shilling. And I don't like to be caught up in a period of not having my monies in order. Come worship harvest, SFFG.
Yes.
10, 10, 20,
That's
60.
straightforward financial growth.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Straightforward. Assuming everybody knows. Yeah. Straightforward financial growth by
Apostle, the book. Yes.
Moses Mukisa.
Yes. If you haven't read it, really.
Where are you?
Yes.
How are your finances?
Yeah.
Anyhow, the 10% tithe, 10% generosity, 20% saving and investment, 60% for your expenses.
You leave off and you see what to do with that.
And as you mature, you want to increase the upper ones, the 10,
Yes.
10s, you want to make them 20,
That
20.
savings,
So that you're living,
On
you
a
don't
lot
to be,
less,
you're
keeping more than-
into consumption
yes.
living. But anyway, that was a good guide, I remember, for me, the 10, 10, 20,
Yes.
60. And then my sister, Pastor Solome,
yes.
Glory, taught me. So 2020 had about fast fruits.
Which we learned about in last week's sermon.
Last week's sermon,
Yes,
indeed.
yeah.
And it's funny that throughout my Christian upbringing, I'd really had more about tithes and offerings, but for some reason, the first fruits thing was never
Yes.
articulated as well as it
As
has
strongly,
been.
yes.
in
And yet the
worship
blessing
harvest.
that,
That follows it. I know. So for the
Yes.
bulk of my Christian life, I was just big on tithe and offering. So I hear about fast fruits. I remember it was midway the year, and I want to jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
Well, not a bandwagon, but I want to act
partake
on
of
it.
this, yes.
And I tend to act quickly. So I turned to my sister, my pastor,
Yes.
Solomon. And she guided that, yeah, very good. Good you want to act, but have you planned for the months outside of when you won't have the income that you'll have given, brought to the house?
Interplanning.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so she taught me, and she taught me, and I planned ahead for 2021 when I would, because I learned this towards the end of 2020, so I got myself ready. Back to our planning. So I had a goal. For instance, I live off 1 million shillings a month.
A month.
So it means January, February, and March, I'll need 3 million shillings for the time. For instance, what I would have used for my January salary or income
Yes.
is not going to be available because I'll have given it in as fast fruits. And so I'll need to make a plan for January, February, March without compromising lifestyle.
Yeah.
Again, you don't want to give fast fruits,
Then
and then
you
the whole world
suffering.
knows that. You see me here. I
gave it all.
Exactly. God wants
Please,
a cheerful
mercy.
giver. At the heart of being a cheerful giver
Yeah.
is planning and not emotional giving.
Yes.
You plan.
Yes.
Okay? So she taught me to make sure that I have money saved to see me
Yes.
through the first quarter. The first quarter can be rough.
Yeah,
if
the
you haven't
60-day
planned.
January.
I have 2 children whose birthdays
Yes.
fall
Yeah.
in the first quarter.
Wow.
They will not
Hear
take
that you gave fast
stories
food.
of not being celebrated because you gave fast food.
I wait for
Oh, yeah.
March. I wait for April.
Exactly. Right? So life must continue, but it must be planned.
Yes.
So indeed, made a plan. So I'll need 3 million shillings. What do I need to do now? How much
Yes.
do I need to do now? Put away weekly, monthly,
Daily,
to
if
make
you
sure,
must.
exactly, to make sure I have 3 million shillings to tide me over during the
That
month when I
season.
have given. And January, and it's 30 days. It will have been preceded by December. I don't know why we
Where we eat
emotionally
everything
spend-
on the
Yeah.
24th.
Exactly. So
And
you
December
need
salary comes
exactly,
too early.
Exactly.
So really.
So
Yes.
that whole period had to be planned for, and I credit her for helping me. And since then,
Yeah.
I've been able to comfortably give my first fruits and very cheerfully
Yes.
because of planning ahead. And the testimony I have, especially coming out of the week that we just learned, the testimony I have, the first year that I gave my first fruit coincided with the year I was promoted from Chief Operating Officer to CEO. And it was very miraculous. And I see God's hand in it because it was a direct promotion from the board and a validation of the confidence they had in me, which I attribute to God's favor and hand on me, because I wasn't subjected to any interview.
Yes.
I was just appointed and received an appointment letter elevating me or promoting me from Chief Operating Officer
Yes.
to Chief Executive Officer. And that happened in 2021. And the appointment came in September. And my birthday is in September. I always say that year, God's gift to me, my birthday gift, was the promotion that I got. But I attribute it to fast fruits. And thereafter, every year, I always wait to see the big thing God is going
you
to...
test him,
because
like you said.
thereafter, the profile that you
Yes.
are reading, a lot of those board positions came after that promotion came after the subsequent years of fast food.
Yes.
And there I am in conversations that almost don't seem linked. I'm being invited to sit on these
different
boards.
Yes.
You know, boards that, as I said, without God's hand and favor, I had no business being on. But again, to not mislead our audience, backed by performance currency.
Yes.
There is the ability to deliver on the mandate once I've gotten there. It also explains the experience I've had over the years. Suddenly I joined the dots for where I have found myself, the work I've done in development work, my knowledge on sustainability and ESG, my investment management coming to bear now. I sit on the SBG Securities Board, whose work is about investment management.
Which is?
What I did for 7 years.
Yeah.
And I was right there from junior portfolio manager, growing through the ranks to leading the department and organization, to now sitting on a board that is getting into, that is deep into that. So my ability to understand the operations without being operational, but knowing what they're going through, understanding the industry comes to bear. The development work or engaging with banking through my work at ABI. Because of our wholesale lender nature, I work with an array of institutions, right from the tier 1 institutions, the big banks, you name them, to the savings and credit cooperatives. We do due diligence on them. So we get into the nitty-gritty, and I've understood operations and how banks operate and how they lend and why they don't want to lend, and where they have challenges, you know, what their systems are like, how much it takes to tweak or create a product, to now sitting on the board of Stanbic Holdings Uganda Limited that owns Stanbic Bank. Wow. And then now I have an appreciation of banking, and I also have an appreciation of investment management. And together it all comes, I just see God joining the dots through the experience.
Yeah.
So with all the planning, I would talk about the diligence and the performance currency and the hand of God.
All of them
as
coming
well.
together.
So with all those plans, submit your plans to the Lord.
Yeah. Which means he's all about planning.
Yes,
if he's telling us,
exactly.
Yes,
At the same time, lean not on your knowledge and understanding.
And even God plans.
Exactly.
The Bible says he knows the plans that he has for you, so he's planning.
Yeah.
And I read a quote, I don't know if it's Miles Monroe, and it's talking about planning is actually a step of faith. Planning is faith in action.
Yes,
it's
it
faith
is.
in action, saying I'm going to do this. It's
that
faith.
By the end of the year we'll have grown this much in revenue. At the end of the year I'll have my MBA.
Yes,
you know,
it's an
at the end of year
because you don't know, but yes,
a coach. You know.
Yes,
different
it's an
things.
Act of
Yes.
faith. So planning is a must, and then going ahead and executing with everything that you told us, you know, delegating, following up, holding people accountable, measuring, having KPIs, SMART goals, all that all ties into the ability to actually execute. Wow. Thank you very, very much, Mona. As usual in Business Garage, so much to say, so little time. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you. Thank you so much for sharing all these. You should start a podcast. You know, it's a thing these days.
I know. For now,
Yes.
I'll just wait to be invited.
You wait to be invited.
It can't be everything. Yeah, indeed.
It's
but
true.
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
It's
so
been
to
a
anybody
wonderful
out there, do
conversation.
call her for more of this conversation where we can learn from the CEO and hear how she does it and what is helping them to meet their targets and be able to support their target, the farmers that are out there in agribusiness. So thank you very, very much, Mona. I hope you've enjoyed your time here.
Thank you, I have. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, and thank you for your faith stories as well as your testimonies on fast fruit and the value of planning financially. So that's what it's all about. And we've heard something from her. If you're a business owner, by Q4, you should be planning for next year. Don't plan for 2026 in January. Yes, if that's anything, you can start there in case you're wondering how to, you know, start about the journey of planning. But she also mentioned, get a coach, get a mentor, get someone to help you on this journey even as you grow, who can help you refine those plans, because it's, you know, a bit of refining as well as hold you accountable to the things that you say. Because business leaders, many times we struggle with, who can hold me accountable to the things I said I want to do, or to the plans that I have made, because your team might not be able to hold you accountable, or you don't have a team to hold you accountable. So get somebody. There's help. Be vulnerable. Ask for help, for support, but go ahead and make those plans and then execute. She talked a lot about diligence, the book of Proverbs. There's so many, each chapter mentions something to do with diligence. It is important. There's a difference in diligence. It's a successful man's best friend. It's all about the diligence. So thank you very much, Mona. It's been most insightful. And for you that's tuning in today and you're listening to this show, it is all about, she mentioned God. She cannot talk about her story or anything that she does without the favor of the Lord. And to be able to enjoy the favor of the Lord and know that it's available to you, it starts with the key decision: giving your life to Christ. There is knowing about God, but there is knowing Him. There is believing that God exists, but then there is believing in Him. And that's where it all starts. And that's what He wants for us. That is what it's all about, believing in Him. Many times the issue is we know, but we don't believe in Him. So today I want to give you an opportunity to give your life to Christ, where you start a journey where you know Him and believe in Him and trust Him. But above all, that you're in relationship with Him and you put your life right with Him. So if you'd like to give your life to Christ so that you can go on a journey, because it's all good to plan and do all these things, but what use is it if you lose your soul at the end of it all? So if you'd like to give your life to Christ, you can say this prayer right now. It's easy as repeating this prayer with us. Say, "Dear Lord, thank you for my life. Thank you that you gave your life so that I could have a life in you. So today I ask you to come into my life, be my Lord and Savior, turn my life around and forgive me all of my sin. In Jesus' name, I have prayed and received your gift of salvation. Amen." And if you just said that prayer, you are born again. And we are excited. In heaven, there is a party because you just said that prayer, and would like to know and connect you to a loving church family that will go on this journey with you, as well as help you make sense of the prayer. So if you just want to get in touch with somebody, do reach out to us. You can type a message in YouTube in the feed right now, or you can call this number, +256 775 642 449. +256, that's the code, 775 642 449. There's a pastor at the end of the line. Just let them know that I gave my life to Christ today on Business Garage, and they will tell you the next steps. And for you that is tuning in and you're wondering where you can go to have your Sunday service, we have a garage for you at any one of our 170 plus locations around the world. You can just reach out, go online, check them out. If you're around Nalia, you can come to Nalia and you'll be able to have a service with us starting at 9 a.m. There's a service there for you. So do join us. Would like to thank our guest today in a very special way, Mrs. Muguma Ssebuliba. Thank you so much for having us. We are here at ABI. It's a beautiful office, and thank you so much for having us. Until next week, bye-bye, and God bless you.
Business Garage.